Yo, what is up? What is up, good people? It's your boy Carcino. We are back. We are back. We are back. There's been a long break since y'all saw me. I had a very wild night. Now, let's get things into perspective here. First off, I want to say shouts out to everybody out there who's holding it down, keeping it real, keeping it real. Wow, Jason Whitlock. Who else? Man, it was so many people. It was Whitlock, Kwame Brown. We had a lot go down, bro. Hit the like button up. We're going to get to all this. Now, Kwame Brown brought up Jason Whitlock after Stephen A. Smith became undone. He was live and became very undone, very unlike himself, and went completely out of his own mind. And by doing so, it shocked the entire world, or anybody that knows anything about professional sports, entertainment, what have you. I was stunned at the fact of everything that transpired myself. I saw that and was like blown away. Now, if you say, well, what about Stephen A. Smith? What about the entertainment value of it? What about this persistent to be great? And what are they really talking about? You know, well, Marcellus, Wiley, and others, they move on a different wavelength than many of us probably would even understand, because they come from a sports media world. And when you come from a sports media world, a lot of things are going to be laid out before you that you're probably not privy to. And you're going to wind up in situations that you wasn't there or wasn't really for your grasp of knowledge and understanding. But it's just like, let's say whatever job you work at that you got, right? You know the ins and outs of your job. So if you're talking about somebody else that works in your job, you're going to be talking about certain things that they don't know anything about, that might be over people's heads, but you and that other person know. Be like, man, look, man, this dude came in, right? You know how you got to come in there, right? You got to place the DCPI numbers. This dude skipped the DCPI numbers. It went straight to the... Everybody else be, what the hell is a DCPI? They don't understand what that means. Yeah, after you called him out, he didn't want no, he didn't want anything with them. Oh yeah, I won yesterday with my parlay picks. Today is gonna be a little tight. I bet the Cubs in 1.5 today. That's a given on my picks, and then we're gonna get into this. Shouts out to my Patreons. Let me see. Man, none of my games are going on really right now. I got the Timberwolves plus 1.5, the Bulls plus 3.5. Suns on the money line. And there you go. Now, y'all ready to get cooking on this? Now, listen to this.
Again, this is why I'm like, this guy's got no street smarts, and this is why I can't believe how Negroes cape up for this dude. He's a buster. He sitting on the top. Everybody in my neighborhood knew I was not to be touched. This dope dealer and had my back, and Stephen A. Smith was not to be touched. Kwame, I'm not the most hood guy.
That's what he turned into Brick.
I'm not the most hood guy, but my father was. My father's business was in the hood. I've been around a lot of hood guys. That's just not how things operate. Somebody that got held back in 4th grade because they thought he was retarded. There's not some dope dealer sitting out there saying Stephen A. Smith is not to be touched. He's going to be important one day. Firstly, everything that comes out of his mouth, it's comical. It's like it's an SNL skit that he's passing off like it's reality, and
for y'all who need context, Stephen A. Smith got a book, right? Stephen A. Smith wrote a book, and in this book, he writes about how sports show he was. He had talent. Everybody knew to leave this guy alone because he was gonna make it. So they was like, leave Stephen A. alone. He's gonna be something. This guy's going somewhere. Now, what Whitlock is doing is mixing up the timelines, but I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. More than anything, I understand what he's saying. And I don't understand what he's doing. Now, when he was dyslexia, this was in his grammar school era. Now, when he was in high school, like these problems wasn't existing. Well, they were there. He still wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but I get the point of what he's trying to say to y'all. Is that why are they saying this guy's got a future and you dumb as a rock? You see what I'm saying? It don't make sense. That's why he was like, this just don't make any sense. Why would somebody say that to somebody who, okay, you just somebody playing basketball on a basketball court, and he's like, oh, he going to the NBA? Like, get the hell out of here, Stephen A. You couldn't even make your high school basketball team full of white guys who are technical experts. They're in the tech and field. They major is electronics and heating and air. Their goal in life is to work at air conditioning. And everybody now is supposed to believe you are the guy. So this is in Stephen A.'s book. He wrote guys in his neighborhood was like, leave that one alone. But it is comical.
You know, he's easy. Everybody knows it. What shocks me, Kwame, is if I'm Kevin Durant or LeBron James and I'm in some kind of back and forth dispute with Stephen A., why don't these guys? They're from the basketball world. They know how much this guy's lying. Why won't they call him out for this stuff?
Because it's all a chain. Because the people who make money off of Stephen A., they gave him what, $200 million? Do you know how much money they make off of Stephen A.? If they can pay him $200 million, how much do you think he's generating?
I'm gonna push back. He's not generating that. I think what it's an indication of is how important the agenda that he's promoting. What are they willing to pay to have a puppet to promote that agenda?
So
bingo, right there. That's the biggest fact ever told here. It's the fact that I've brought up constantly. Stephen A. Smith doesn't move the needle. Nobody tunes in for Stephen A. Smith. They only do it if the Cowboys lose. He's not somebody they tune in to watch. People are used to watching ESPN because it's on in bars and restaurants. They have more outlets. They're not the number one show on ESPN. Pardon the interruption is. But why would they pay him the money? They're paying him the money because he passes on the agenda. When someone passes the agenda along, what is it that you're going to do? You're going to either follow suit or become victim of it. Stephen A. brother wasn't even around. Stephen A. brother is about probably, I would say, 10 years older than Stephen A. I mean, Basil was about 10 years older than Stephen A. 100%. So when Basil graduated from high school, he went directly to the Air Force. Basil didn't even hang around. He didn't have a problem with gangs. Basil was a whole different individual. He graduated, Stephen A. was probably eight years old. What makes his other story seems even more baffling. About, Jam Master Jay and my brother, they was best friends. First of all, Basil is about 10 years older, if not 8, over Jam Master Jay. How were they best friends, Stephen A? Basil was gone after he graduated from high school. According to you, in your records, he graduated and he went to the Air Force. So how was he? All right. How was he best friends with Jam Master Jay, who was all about what, 9 or 10? Basil's hanging out with 10-year-olds. It's like, come on, man. Everybody can understand that you are a puppet. And this is what Whitlock was trying to bring to the forefront, is that he's a puppet because they're willing to pay him X amount of dollars to be their puppet rather than to create a new one. They got one that's already working. He's pulling the agenda off. What do we need to do to keep him going? Stephen A. Smith had a bunch of health problems where he was about to die. So this is why they told him, your heart rate is at Rocky Road. You got to start working out or you're going to die. They literally told him this. This is why ESPN wasn't going to give him the money. They had to see some improvement in the conditioning of Stephen A. Smith. Because he needed his whole book. His whole book is a lie. The title, Straight Shooter, lie. Everything about it's a lie. Even the people he said that fact checked the book, I'm going to call those people. Since he put it out there, let's call them. Okay, why didn't you check him on this when he said he wrote for the Winston-Salem Journal? Show me in the archives any article from Stephen A. Smith from the Winston-Salem Journal. Show me any article from Stephen A. Smith in the Greensboro Journal report. He never was a staff writer. Never had the title of any of these things. What This is what's so comical. Where's this miracle article that he wrote that set the tone of his life? Everybody who is a journalist, if they have an article that made them famous, they would have printed it out, had a printed copy or the written copy, and framed it. Stephen A. Smith has wrote a book, named his show Straight Shooter, everything about this article that supposedly got the coach fired, even though the coach was there 3 more years after Stephen A. didn't graduate. Lies. So my thing is, this is an obvious, blatant lie. It's right there for everyone to see. You're not in the archives. So if they have no reference of you in the archives, almost every story he told was a lie. The volleyball story, lie. Where's your article? Someone else wrote about volleyball story, but it wasn't you. He does not have a journalistic degree. He does not have a degree in journalism. He has a degree in mass communications. I repeat, no degree in journalism. He has one in mass communications. Oh, 100%. Well, you should care. I care about who's giving me the information. I don't want puppets giving me information. We're tired of seeing broken down, confused, manipulated black men on television giving us their takes. The Wilbons, we've seen them. Or at least Wilbon was a journalist. And this is why Wilbon was like, oh yeah, Stephen A. gets it. This is the guy. Stick with him. He's a good old boy. See, these are the people. Yeah, these are facts. Stephen A. is not a journalist. Well, he don't have a degree for being a journalist. So he made his bones writing about Allen Iverson. Right? And people like Scoop Jackson, who he mimicked himself after. Scoop was the guy we trusted, the guy we looked up to, the guy was giving us the real. Now they done moved Scoop Jackson out of the way for Stephen A. Smith. We used to listen to Scoop. And Stephen A. started to curtail himself and built his character off of Scoop Jackson. That's what he did.
I think Stephen A. was created for an agenda. What's the agenda?
Controlling Negroes, Negro wrangler, overseer. Look, overseers, if you went back to the 17 and 1800s, they were well paid. And they're really well paid now because controlling Negroes is that important. And so he's not to touch on anybody's funny bone, but like he's paid that money because he's willing to go on TV and say, you Negroes, take the vaccine. How dare you not take the vaccine? The guy gave a whole speech on taking the COVID vaccine. And I'm like, this dude's a sports writer. And he's giving medical advice on TV, scolding black people. I'm like, hey, man.
I thought I was the only one that see it. I know guys like you see it, but what?
Now notice, he brought up a very key word, overseer. What is the overseer's job? To oversee normally the Negroes on the plantation. See, I told you before, this thing is trickery. He was like, I'm a Greensboro native here, grew up reading the news and record in the 80s and 90s. Never heard of Stephen A. Smith in the paper. And if we had, we would know. Exactly, Scott. You see, here's the thing that people don't understand or don't get or don't really care about one way or another, but it's the truth. This is the facts that they omit. The fact of the matter is Stephen A. Smith knows that they can look up all this information. Like all of you guys can look up the information. The information is clear and concise, and it is on the internet. You can find it. Very easy. All of y'all can find this internet information. You can go right to the archives, but they know you're not going to go through the archives. You're not going to want to pay money to see if Stephen A. was there. You know he ain't there. He knows it. They know everyone's attention span is not conversed with research. No one's going to take the time to go research so they can just sell you anything because they're on TV. So they must be telling the truth. So professionalism, journalism, gone. Credibility, gone. They want to dumb down what they call the entertainment value for your liking. So it's like people dumbing down hip hop, right? We got all the syrupy rappers now. I got 4 wheels moving like my vehicle. You know, we got dumbed down bars. We have dumbed down everything. It's too early in the season to talk about baseball right now. But yes, I bet the Cubs today and we should win big. Now, do the right thing. What is the right thing, people? The right thing is doing something everybody else think is easy. Now, let's put all of this back in perspective because I want people to understand something here. No, it needs to be understood more than understanding. Here's the part that people just don't understand. What Stephen A. Smith was doing for years is pushing an agenda that the networks, the company want to push. And he'll go to speak to black colleges to create other Stephen A. Smiths. This is why they pay him the money. This is why they put him in your face to manipulate you. To say, if you want to get to the bag, do it like me. And he gonna walk with a swag. Yeah. But in real life, he's a joke. A running joke. That no one took serious. This is what everyone is trying to get to the point of realization that when you're listening to what Kwame is saying and what Jason Whitlock is saying, bringing up very key words. Very key. He's not being paid because he moves the needle, because he actually doesn't. He's being paid to be an overseer. They could take Stephen A. out, and which he has. He's taken a vacation before. They didn't lose any traction while he was gone. What does that mean? If you don't lose any traction when that person is gone, you don't move the needle. See, Shannon Sharp moved the needle. When he was there, the numbers doubled They did 1 million. He doubled the numbers. Why? Because Shannon Sharpe moves the needle, not Stephen A. He's like a parasite. They have to attach themselves to something to be relevant. They're not relevant because of themselves. He's trying to be Nino Brown, going at it with LeBron now. Now he wants to go after the LeBron narrative. But what is it based off of? Because for years, you was telling us how he's one of the greatest players of all time. Even when he was trying to get you fired. The whole time. Because you said something he didn't agree with. So, when he came after your job, and they said, well, he's a good old boy, we just would make sure to tell him not to say it no more.
Stopping the masses from seeing that they're putting people in place that you like, and they're getting these influencers and these people to influence you to do things without thought.
Insecurity, and this is the real touchy part, which will, Negroes like to be controlled. we don't want the responsibility.
I'm sorry, Black. I'm sorry, people.
We don't want the responsibility of having to take care of ourselves, and so we prefer to be controlled, and so they'll send us.
Now, here's where Whitlock goes left. Now he's saying Negroes like to be controlled. This is not true at all. Negroes, more than anybody on the face of this planet, hate somebody to tell them what the hell to do. White society likes control. They're in a simulation. And I want you to listen to this, Jason Whitlock. I hope it gets played to you one day. Caucasian, Anglo-Saxons, whatever you want to call them, the European style of education and how they were brought up is a simulation. They're right brain, object-oriented learners. They learn better from an object. That if you gave them the instructions, they'll read the instructions and then they'll do it. That's the way they learn better. That's the European system that they use and try to teach to us. We, Black folk, Africans, anybody from that era, we are left brain, creativity, subject-oriented learners, meaning we learn better from a person than we do from an object. If we watch somebody do it, we go, oh, okay, I got it now. We learn better from people. This is how we were taught throughout our entire existence. We learned from elders. They showed us how to do things. That was that. We did not learn better from objects. We learned more and better from watching other people do it. Then we can do it ourselves, and we'll do something different. We might do it a different way. And this is where the creativity comes in, where the Anglo-Saxon way is to follow everything to the letter. They like to be told what to do. They like to be, that's why most of them are in the military. They follow commands. Black people, we have too many questions because it goes against our natural logic. We want you to go and attack that bunker. You're on the front line, Johnson. And then you can go and do an L-shaped strike over there, and we're going to take them down over there in that quarter. Okay, whoa. Who all going? Sorry, Cap. Who you say is all going again? Your unit, first unit. All the brothers, we going, wait. Hold on. You said the enemy right here, right? Yeah, so they're going to be shooting directly at us. We have no cover here. Just do the best you can. Stay low. Stay in the grass. Stay in the high grass. grass can't block bullets. So they just gonna be firing at all the brothers while y'all in the L shape over there waiting for them to move forward and lay them down after what? We dead? See, we gonna have too many questions. So Jason Whitlock is way off. See, what Whitlock problem is the same thing that he complains about with Stephen A. Smith. He's in the same boat with the conservative whites. He's pushing their agenda. That's not his agenda. It's their agenda. He's got to do this to stay in the good graces with them because they're the only people left that he has. No, Kwame was like, I'm sorry, black folks. See, I would have had to jump back on Whitlock right then and there.
Stephen A. out there, and we'll all sit and watch. Like Kwame Brown tweeted out a movie poster about black people being the real Jews. Not my type of movie, but if that's what he's into, who cares? This is America. This Negro can think whatever he wants to think. Stephen A. went on TV. Kwame Brown, not Kwame, Kyrie Irving, I can't believe you're doing this. You're stirring up all kinds of trouble. You know, Master don't like it when you talk like that. And vilified Kyrie Irving. It control of Negroes. You're not allowed to think this. You're not allowed to support this. You're not allowed to be free. You have to think what we tell you to think, and we'll put Stephen A. in a big shiny suit and overpay him and let you say, man, if I just do what I'm told like Stephen A. Smith, I can get suits like Stephen A. Smith. I can get a job talking on TV about things I know nothing about. Knows nothing about basketball, knows nothing about football, baseball, any of it.
Oh, when he went to UFC, that was like the ultimate low blow. I was gonna stop watching. They checked him quick though. That's how it's supposed to be. They're like, what?
For those of y'all who don't know, this is how crazy it was. Stephen A. Smith on one UFC card was up there holding a microphone calling matches. And I'm like, what is Stephen A. Smith doing on UFC? Now, here's the thing that we didn't know in the backstory. Stephen A. Smith went to the event on his day off. So he was up there at the UFC event. Somebody who was supposed to be there that night, or a fighter that's supposed to be like the media guy, couldn't make it. So Stephen A. Smith was in the crowd. He get a call from the president of ESPN and said, we're going to need you to suit up tonight. He's like, what? You were at the UFC fight, right? Yeah, good. We need you to go to Dana White, get to the booth right now. We need you to fill in for a guy. This is his day off. And he got to go do another 50,000 jobs. And whenever they're in a debate of should they pay you money, you already know you're against the wall. You're against the whole 8 ball. They don't like you. And they push an agenda. But once again, Whitlock is part of the same hypocrisy. Whitlock knows that. He's part of the agenda, just like the rest of these guys. Yep, take it over.
When he started talking about fighting, I'm like, oh man. And that's like the one thing you can't do.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yep.
The hypocrisy is right in people's face. Like Stephen A. Smith was able to go on to Carmelo Anthony's show, say whatever about LeBron, but he wants to be able to nobody to go on anybody else's show talking about him. Why is that?
So Carmelo is friends with LeBron, and he allowed LeBron's biggest critic at ESPN to come on his show and talk salty about LeBron James.
Yeah.
And what Stephen A, when you're, and I'm just keeping it real, when you have, because I really don't believe in book sense. I really don't. I'm a mid to low level IQ person. I believe in common sense. I believe in street sense. I believe in biblical sense, in a biblical worldview. Those things actually are the source of wisdom. Stephen A, though, is low IQ. And when you get all the money that they've given him, and you're not attached to a street sense, a common sense, or a biblical worldview, you lose your mind and you start thinking like, hey man, I'm one of the smartest, most powerful people on the planet. I get to make the rules and I don't have to obey the rules. I'm part of the chosen ones. And so he just has a double standard and he can't compete. There's no consistency in logic or worldview because he's not attached to anything. That's why one day he seems like he's a political conservative. The next day he seems like he's a progressive liberal. He has no consistent worldview. None of it is attached to anything sound, and it just whichever way the wind's blowing or whichever way his paymasters say, we need you blowing this direction, that's what he does.
Now, the rest of that is on Kwame Brown's channel. Now, exactly. They both suffer from the same agenda base. Pretty much. But they both suffer. Stephen A. Smith and Jason Whitlock have masters they have to appease. Jason Whitlock has masters he has to appease. He has people up at Blaze Media that like to push that conservative, we're Christian conservative people. Meanwhile, knowing that Whitlock used to be in the strip clubs all the time, all of a sudden now he's a Christian. All right, he's about as Christian as I am a Catholic. So this is what I try to tell people. When you start believing most people who have these innuendos about themselves, they start having all of these different ideals, right? They never come through fruition. They all come to this realization that doesn't exist. Okay? It's all an agenda base. Stephen A. Smith, he just has a better boss than you. If they call Whitlock and said, Whitlock, we want to pay you $20 million a year to get back on TV, you think Whitlock wouldn't get his ass over there in that chair and say exactly what ESPN wanted him to say? Oh, he would. So it's a hypocrisy. These are about two people that don't like each other, and they both are telling the truth about one another in the process. Whitlock did a lot of snaky things, but so did Stephen A. Stephen A. much more on a bigger scale than him because he's politically correct to both sides. He's going to have served all masters. He's never going to put himself above any boss that cuts him a check. And he wants to teach you how to be like that. And there are plenty of people like that, minions. You got Gilbert Arenas, who wants to be like Stephen A. He wants to be that minion because he only sees money. Money over everything. He wants to be an overseer of other Negroes. Cam Newton is a free spirit. He's already had money. He's saying, why do I have to appease what you want to do? Why do I have to go down that lane? And for what? What's in it for me to go down that lane? It doesn't make sense. Now, Marcellus Wiley came up on the platform and they started talking about Stephen A. Smith, the Ryan Clark situation. And this is what Whitlock's genius comes into play, because Marcellus Wiley, who really doesn't have a relationship with Stephen A. Smith, actually brought up some very valid points, some things that needed to be pointed out and addressed. Why Stephen A. Smith resorts to name calling instead of going over some of the facts that stand with Whitlock. He chose to go with name calling. Okay, that's his thing. If he wants to choose to go down that route. Now, as Whitlock and Wiley engage, I want you to notice some things.
But he was able to make it that in that comparison. So that's why I thought he got some points off, because, yeah, you're the top dog. We all respect that. Salute. But how you got there, and since you're there, who are you, is a deeper conversation that he didn't really want to address. I think he could really put out all this fire by just simply saying, hey, Jason, you're accusing me A, B, C, D. And it's easy to disprove those things. But the thing is, the burden he's trying to make it sound like you have to prove it that, oh, I don't have a 6-inch screw in my knee, which is, come on, man. All right. You got to, Jason, I need you to prove that I didn't score 1.5 points in a game, and it's only one game, which is impossible. Like, you're telling him, just prove that you didn't do the impossible. And he's sitting there kind of caught in that. And I think he got some points off, but at the same time, he still is missing the mark. The mark is, Stephen A., you may have a foundation with a lot of cracks in it. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because who you are right now, this big skyscraper of talent, we still don't know if that foundation is weak, because we still see weakness in you.
Here's what I'm really asking, though. Why are you there? I'm not asking how you got there. I know how he got there. They put him there. They drove him up the escalator, overlooked all the flaws, and put him there. The question I'm asking is why? Why are you there, Stephen A.? Stephen A. knows that he has a fraudulent background and narrative that he's used. Stephen A. knows that, and again, this is the tough thing to know, tough thing to say, tough thing to prove. But I think Stephen A. knows, like, hey, man, I wasn't the best at the. Take Jason Whitlock out of it. Stephen A.'s resume as a sports journalist, it doesn't compare to Michael Wilbon.
Facts. See? Take me out of the equation, right? I'm not just, don't make this me versus Stephen A. Take me out of the equation. Why are you there? What makes you so much talented than everyone else when you don't have the talent? Stephen A. Smith is what you would call performative. It's an act. It's phony. It's tired. It's bland. Okay? It's watching somebody do the same routine over and over again. It's like, dude, you need a new routine, man. Yeah, exactly. Now think about this. When they were making this video or they was putting this out, my Ryan Clark video was already going out talking about Ryan Clark and his double standards and how he acts one way and moves another way, right? I point out factual things about the other because everybody seems to be forgetting that there are levels to this. And when people levels are all over the place, you start to see the cracks in the ceiling. And now, because everybody was seeing the cracks in the ceiling, everyone can see the whole layout. What Marcellus Wiley is saying is laying it out, is saying that, look, there's some things that's there that needs to be explained, Stephen A. These things that's out here about you, the 1.5 points, how did that even come to be? We know now he's come out and said, oh, well, no, I never played a game. Now he has to go around and rectify that. But on television, he didn't correct it live in front of the entire world when they brought out a whole basketball team that he never played with. So, and I'm like, oh, Stephen A was never played a game with these people, and they brought him out like he was their star player or something. It was unbelievable. But that's neither here nor there, right?
The television ratings that Stephen A has generated at First Take don't compare to what Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser had done at with Pardon the Interruption. If
That's exactly what I just said in this same video earlier. So we both are on the same page, me and Whitlock, about that exact situation. Pardon the Interruption is their biggest show, not First Take. First Take has done numbers way larger than what they were doing now back when they were doing Tim Tebow talks before Stephen A even got there. When they were doing cold pizza, he wasn't even a member. So they've been number one since then. But he likes to believe they're the number one morning sports talk show. I got the number one show. No, Stephen A. That show is number one, period. It's not because of you. It's because you guys have more outlets. Everybody was watching Undisputed and wasn't watching your show. That's what was really happening. If Fox had more outlets or the same amount of outlets as ESPN, you would be dwarfed by Undisputed. Everybody was running over there to see Shannon Sharpe and Skip. Y'all were in trouble. This is why you were screaming to replace Max Kellerman, because you're like, the numbers is going down. I'm not winning. I'm looking bad. Because Max was making you look stupid. He was exposing to the world that you're not that smart. And you can't be sitting next to a guy that's smarter than you. You can't have it. They got to know I'm the star. Don't outshine me. I got to look good at all times. Now, here's where it's going to get key.
ESPN wanted to have a black face of the network. There's a guy that graduated from Northwestern, had an impeccable career at the Washington Post, had respect from everybody, the athletes, coaches, executives, other people in the media. And ESPN said, no, we want this guy. And then if I even went to a younger person and said, again, remove me from it. Bomani Jones is brilliant.
Yeah.
IQ, I would think in the 130s, 140s, maybe 150s. Graduated high school at 16, got degrees on top of degrees. If they wanted someone young and black to speak to the culture, blah, blah, they could have gone with Bomani Jones. How did ESPN, with a guy whose background is so obviously fraudulent, someone whose career was spotty at best and was a laughing. If you go back 20 years ago, everything that I'm saying about Stephen A. Smith, everybody in the media was talking about privately. You may not even know this, but you know the sports reporters, Lupica, Joe Valerio that ran that show, Dick Schaap, Johnson, those I was on that show. They were all committed. No way we will ever have Stephen A. Smith on this show. That was their mindset. That's what the media's mindset. Stephen A. was thought to be so fraudulent, so defective. No way we could have him on the sports reporters.
Exactly. The sports reporters show that used to come on there with all the respected journalists on there did not respect Stephen A. Smith. Key fact. Respect. And he was out in the cold. Out in the cold like Nicole. Now, everybody might say, well, why would they kick out Stephen A. Smith like that? Because in their estimation, Stephen A. Smith, this was the best thing for him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how they move. He told you names of people on the show, and they did not respect him. Now, Stephen A. Smith ain't been black in years. A lot of people, they haven't been black in years. But the thing is, it's not about the black factor. Like Bomani Jones, he's black, he's smart. But when you put Bomani Jones in there, he's entertaining and he's smart. That's the problem. Smart. Smart Negroes, we don't do well with those. Only people that can be smart around here are white guys. Why? Because the white guys are the right guys. That's what they want to push that agenda. So they had a black show, Michael Smith, Jamel Hill. The numbers are going through the roof on ESPN on the 6th. Well, it was called His and Hers. It was doing so much numbers on ESPN2. They're having fun. Everybody's doing great over there. They want to move them to the big station now. They're like, we gotta get this thing as hot. We need to take this show and put it on the main ESPN with these old grumpy white guys who don't like anything that they're talking about. And you put a guy in there who was basically a right-wing conservative who was in charge of their whole show, and his whole thing was, I'm stripping this away. I don't want that there. Anything with black, anything, I don't want to talk about it. BLM crap. Shouldn't belong in sports. I want it out. So none of this, all this is going on, Stephen A. Smith, quiet. Stephen A. Smith was quiet because he wanted the job. The job was actually his, according to Stephen A. Smith. Now, he might have been in the running for the job, but the job was his till he made a comment about some females to where he had to talk to one of the big execs up there who's a female. She took him out. They had lunch. She told him he was wrong, and he agreed he was wrong because she's white, he's black, and he wanted to keep a job. So he said, yeah, you're right. She made me realize that what I said was out of bounds. So, once again, this goes left. All of this goes down a rabbit hole that they can't even imagine. So, when they get the 6 o'clock show, because Stephen A. said he messed up by saying that joke about that woman or the statement and all these women got mad, called him sexist. Now, Jemele Hill and Michael Smith get the show. Do you think Stephen A was happy? Because Stephen A did not want to do mornings no more. He wanted to go to afternoons. He could sleep in later. Now, is Sports Center at 6 o'clock. He wanted to do that. He didn't get it. They said, no, stay at First Take. They got it. That didn't sit well with Stephen A. Didn't sit well with him at all. Now, I guess if you want to look at it that way, but I don't. Yeah, I know. You said Baby George Johnson.
That they've put black journalists in, and now even white journalists in. You're just here to react. You don't really define the conversation. We got this puppet, Stephen A. or Skip Bayless. Stephen A. is going to react to the conversation, and that's the role for black guys. You guys come in and be reactors, while us white people, we define the conversation. And everything from the undefeated to speak for yourself to what I'm doing now was about like, no. Trust me. We can define the conversation and we can create a conversation that's better, more healthy, puts everybody, black, white, just athletics in a better position, asking the right questions. And Stephen A. and ESPN said, no, we want a dumb, low-level conversation. And so we want you on air. Is Michael Jordan better than LeBron? Is LeBron better than Michael? And we'll just do that every day, over and over and over again. Everybody already knows the answer. Everybody's just playing a gimmick and a role. I don't believe Shannon Sharp authentically believes LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. I don't believe anybody authentically believes that. And that's not me trying to take a dump on LeBron. It's just like, hey, man, the guy won 6 titles and, out of 6, and just the resume speaks for itself. But that's my complaint with Stephen A. He's degraded the conversation, and he puts black people in a limited position where we never get to define the conversation.
Very much so the point. What's up, Uncle Claude? Stephen A. hated on every person on ESPN, from Jemele Hill to Kerry Champion, who he claimed he basically gave the okay to in the stamp because he's performative. And these people today don't really like him because of how he carries himself. His ego goes before everything else. Now, let's put all of this into perspective. Now, oh, it's good, bro. Now, when we look at everything in totality, I will cover the Isaiah stuff later, because he went in on Acho and them, was like, let ISO speak. Y'all need to be quiet and let ISO speak. Now, Stephen A. Smith is the Jay-Z of ESPN. I wouldn't put him that high, but yeah, pretty much they're there to try to control the narrative. Jay doesn't so much because he's not out there that much. He mostly stay in the background and don't talk that much, but he thinks when he talks, everybody's supposed to move to what Jay says or Jay's opinion. And all these other people are scared. But what he said is that blacks are not allowed to control or lead the conversation. And he won't allow anybody to bring in like real actual news, real reporting. It's always surface level crap. This is what I talked about with Gil's Arena, how it's a joke. They just take stuff off Twitter and like a Twitter chat, like, is Luka Doncic the GOAT now? You know, like stupid shit like that. And it's like, dude, why? You got NBA players sitting on this couch. Why are you wasting their talent or time and all of this knowledge you could be pouring out here with giving real basketball takes and making it a real show instead of doing this cookie cutter shit? Because, oh, it get clicks and views. That's how you get to the clicks. Who's going to want to watch that shit? I can't sit through Gil's Arena. I can't. It's that bad of a show. It is awful. I feel bad for anybody who has to sit through that. I had to sit through it to find the actual comments one time. It's just really bad. Now, when you hear people say that about Stephen A. Smith and all of his accomplishments, everything that I would call him the Joe Budden of ESPN. That is more fitting.
Real, because it wasn't from promotion. It wasn't. They were trying to promote Skip Bayless and Colin Cowherd. And so I'm saying, like, we black people, and anybody knows I'm not some racial idolater or whatever, but we were capable of doing what Pat McAfee did, but we all think, no, I want to be the reactor. I just want to show. Stephen A. don't show up for no meetings, really. He just shows up and reacts to Skip Bayless or whatever. It's a lazy show, and it doesn't lead to real power. McAfee has the real power. That's why I respect Cam Newton for saying, you know what? I want to be Pat McAfee.
You know, and what he's saying is, and for those who don't understand that, Pat McAfee doesn't work for ESPN. Pat McAfee has his own show that ESPN did a partnership with him, which is like ESPN distributes the Pat McAfee show. Everybody that's on that staff is Pat McAfee's crew that he originally had, he brought with him. So they don't have ESPN guys there. They got his people, his show. They're distributing his property. So it still belongs to Pat McAfee. Okay, he's distributing it on their networks, but he is not an employee of ESPN. So no one there could tell him anything except for the president, Jimmy Pitaro, and Bob Iger. But now they got a new guy instead of Bob. And what he's saying is that they don't have to do reactions all the time. You know, when the story is, oh, Tiger Woods just flipped over, everything else is a reaction to that. Rather than you can create a topic, a point that, let's go create an idea, a thought process that's actually engaging. Well, can we do that here on this show? I don't know. We got to pass it through the channels to see will it be approved if we do anything. Why are less inner city blacks getting a chance to go to the NBA now? Seems like this is getting less and less, and we're seeing more of blacks with means actually get a chance to come to the NBA, more than that young inner city black kid who was very talented. That seems to be very less and less now, and the game seems to be progressing in a whole different way, where we're seeing more European players coming in. Right now, it's almost at 40% European in the league. That's a high number. It's like 37% European players in the NBA. So where did that leave us in the future? You know, people have saying the AAU program is not really bringing out the best of the best. 5-star recruits is basically a bench player at best, even if he's drafted in the first round or start of the second round. 5-star elite players are getting drafted in the second round. So 5-star recruits getting drafted in the second round, maybe they could contribute coming off the bench. This is how you're looking at, like you look at Dennis Jenkins. Dennis Jenkins is a better basketball player than Jalen Brunson. I'm not saying that because he's on the Detroit Pistons. I say it because I get to see him. I get to see the way he plays. I get to see the way Jalen Brunson plays. I know when a guy's being pushed, who's a Nepo baby, being pushed because they have no star in New York. Karl Anthony Towns was supposed to be the star of New York. Brunson's a role player who's now being put like he's the face of the team that can lead a team to a championship, right? Like he's Stephen Curry or somebody. And it's like, that guy? No way. But the narratives are always going to change because all of these stories you don't get to see on major television. They're not going to have these type of conversations because they're never going to get pushed, because they have to push an agenda of what the league wants, because they have a contract with the NBA. So you have a contract with the NBA. The NBA wants to control what you say. The NBA says, oh, wait a minute. I don't like this guy. I don't like what he's saying about our league. We got to shut him down. They want to step on anybody trying to create the conversation if you are African American. Thank you. He said when Michelle Obama went in on Stephen A. Smith, it struck a nerve because he doesn't move mainly at all. That's what he has done to sports talk. Stephen A. don't want to do sports because he never does sports. He just talks. So he figured that he could pull this same BS tactic in politics. Except for in politics, they will call you out on your shit because there's people there that's been doing this for years and they follow it. They actually research and do everything. They don't do surface level talk. And you're not going to get away with that with them. So he got to go to his conservative people that he claims he's not a conservative, even though he is a conservative. He's going to go over there and do, I voted for Michelle Obama. I voted for them. I voted for Kamala Harris. I voted for this. So I'm not part of that. But I do question them all the time. Why are you questioning them all the time? They're not in office. Question the leadership that's there now. Every time it comes time to question Trump, you got to understand, the man's coming. Oh, Lord, that man's coming. I'm saying he coming. He coming. And everybody like, man, sit your scared ass down. Sit your scared ass down. But he coming, though. Oh, he coming. Oh, the man. It's like, man, sit your scary ass down. Nobody coming for you. Another scared man. And that's the last thing this world needs, is another scared man. Oh, 100%.
I could go this road because we both started at the same spot. ESPN dissed us, but now look how we come back at them 2 different ways.
I don't think Pat McAfee, if he were here now, he'd be like, Marcellus, don't tell me I looked at Stephen A. Smith and thought anything. I didn't. Stephen A. Smith has no influence on what I did, do, any of that. That guy's Pat McAfee is like that guy's a clown. What Pat
He is so true. Pat McAfee looks at him like a clown. He tried to be cordial with Stephen A. Stephen A. doesn't know how to be cordial with anybody. He thinks everybody is an adversary coming for him. He used Pat McAfee to get paid. When they tried to justify not paying Stephen A. Smith, he used Pat McAfee. How you gonna pay him and not me? Like this was going to bring forth all of this vitriol between the two parties. Oh, absolutely. Oh man, see the whole entrapment with this whole narrative is that we don't have an identity in sports because we can't control the conversation, and they won't let us control the conversation. So when you start going off the rails and start saying things like, this is what we need to do, or you got to toe the line, and Stephen A. Smith is going to come in and try to draw a line in the sand and say, this is what it is. People are going to look at him like he's crazy, because why would that be the case? Mm. If we don't understand where we're going, we'll never make it. You're never going to make it. No, Pat McAfee was on fire when he got there. They have people there that's old school that they got to get rid of. Stephen A. Smith is a sexist. He doesn't believe in none of the stuff that they talk about. And we get it. We get it completely. We know he lives to please massa. We know all these things that he put out there for the whole world to see, because in his estimation, this is the best thing this is the best news that's ever going to come for him. Notice how he's very cautious when he talk about Willie D. Have you ever seen Stephen A. talk about Willie D? He gets real respectful. These people know what he is. And as long as he's put in that, like on a pedestal, other people feel like they don't have to pay any attention to him. They don't have to respond. So it's kind of like what you said, but it's different. He judges black people differently than he does whites. You see, we've always known. He's always been yeah, the Wolves play today, not tomorrow. He never has the same energy, and he doesn't care if you don't like it. The way he talked about Diddy, Von Miller, Kyrie Irving, the way he talked about every black athlete that moved. When it came to Jim Irsay, Josh Giddey, Dana White, all these people, Chad Wheeler. It's always an anomaly if white people do something. But if black people do it, he's the overseer. Notice his tone change when it's black people. Oh, you got to know that you got to be kidding me. But when it's white people, bad news. We got awful news. Josh Giddey, he was in a situation. Yeah, it's almost like you're at a funeral. The Colts owner got caught with blow. In a DUI stop, and somehow he's the victim. It's all the boys. We got to get him help. We got to get him in a program. Black person get caught. Oh, it's about how much time we got to give him. Oh, he should be locked up. He should be kicked off the team. Jim Irsay had grams. Like he had a good night out. So we knew what kind of guy this was and how he was moving, how he was operating.
That's not true. Because when you talk about identity, when you talk about what you want to be, there's two ways you look at it. It's who you are, and it's also who you are not. And I think that Pat McAfee looked at Stephen A. Smith and said, that's who I'm not going to be, right? I think that Bill Simmons, who when he was in there at ESPN, it looked a lot different than when he had to leave ESPN and go build his thing, right? So everyone is learning from each other. That's why I said Pat McAfee became a different version. And I think Cam Newton, who wanted to be at ESPN earlier than he is now, is like, oh, I know who I want to be. I know who I am. I'm not that, because Stephen A. Smith comes with a price. He comes with, you can see that ESPN and their motives and their narratives, like he has to say things that he said over the years that you're like, what are you talking about? Where you go back to Max Kellerman and like, dog, why are you undermining your partner? Just either do the show the right way or don't do it at all. Imagine if Skip Bayless, when he let you on, was like, man, that ain't funny. Man, you crazy. Like, you know, so why are you playing it like that? Why you go 2-3 years later still talking about this dude like that? Why you say, meet me anywhere courtside, LeBron and KD and Kyrie and anybody, meet me. I'm always there. I'm always available. You know where I'm at. And then when LeBron say, okay, I'm here too. You ain't got nothing to say. Then you go around for a year or so talking about him. We all can see that Stephen A. Smith, in some respects, has been paid for handsomely by how much they pay for him to do his services. And you can see those alignments. And now you're seeing a new generation of people, whether it's by hook or crook, because I know that Pat McAfee wanted to be there. I know that Cam Newton wanted more of a role than just coming in once or twice earlier before now. even Shannon Sharp, everybody. We are either who we want to be, who I am, or who I'm not. That's why I grew up the way I am. I ain't grow up this way. Like, I don't give a damn what you think about me. I'm just going to be myself. I made it up out of nowhere. I said, I'm not going to be gangster. I'm not going to be hard. I'm not going to be tough like these Crips and Bloods. I'm not going to be this environment. I'm going to be me because I know that I exist and I know that I deserve to be exactly who I want to be, not with this little environment, not with this culture, not what anybody is trying to force me to become.
Now, what he's saying is that I'm not doing the job that they want me to do. I can make the same amount of money sitting at home. That's all that means. Here's the news. If they made something more appeasable to him, like in California, where he didn't have to go to New York, he would take that job in a heartbeat. But because they're not doing that and he can make the money sitting at home, you know what he's saying? Man, I don't want to play ball. I want to do what I want to do. And that's what I said. You know, I walked away from it. The truth of the matter is they underpaid Marcellus Wiley, and that's what they do in this business. They underpay you when they offer you something because they say, we really don't want you to hear. We know you're going to turn it down. And if you accept it, you're a fool. And we know you're not going to accept it. We just don't want you here. So here's the offer we're giving you. They did the same thing to Whitlock. They said, here's your offer. You're like, what? This is my offer? Yeah. Yep, exactly. It's time to go. And that's just it. So you can't say they didn't send you an offer and they forced you out, even though that's what they're doing. They're like, no, we made an offer. He just didn't like the terms of the agreement of the offer, and then he decided to walk. See, that's just how they do it. It's like they cover their bases. And these two who had Speak for Yourself, now they out. I mean, ESPN could have got Marcellus Wiley, but Marcellus Wiley is opinionated. You know, he's very much, I'm going to do my thing and nobody going to tell me what to do. And this is the narratives that come into play. So when you see this scenario happen, it's a lot of bitterness mixed in with a lot of things that's factual. Now, Stephen A. Smith, is he a sexist? Yes. In my opinion, he is a sexist. He can care less about the women that are on his show as much as them being on television and WNBA, all of it. He don't care. So when he makes a sexist remark, which is almost every other blunder he makes, it's because he really is a sexist. He's covering and pretending not to be. This is why he's in the boat he's in. Now, we'll talk about this more on the Patreon because there's a lot of things that wasn't reported that you don't know about.
Network. I mean, when I was an active player, Shannon on the field was a personality. Shannon playing against the Denver Broncos was like, yo, this is theater. This dude is crazy. He blocked me one time, Whitlock, and literally was giving me life advice. He was like, hey, Wiley, you know, it's about M&Ms. It's about money and memories. I was like, this dude is, what is going on? And thing back together. But I'm just trying to tell you, it's deeper than just those allegations, because if it weren't, they would have looked the other way, LT style.
Got you. Now, at first, I was a tiny bit confused. And yes, I mean, Shannon's got some demons. And I would imagine when you do the kind of...
Now, they're talking about Shannon and his case, you know, about what's happening with Shannon Sharp, because Shannon Sharp should have been a lot higher and would have been a lot higher. Still can get back. That's why he's got the beard now. He's kind of rebranding himself as old man Shannon. And he's out here doing his thing, trying to rebrand himself so he can get away from the shame that happened just a year ago when he's got to get his little white girl millions and millions of his dollars. You know, all I got to do is think about, you know, Jonathan Majors or Shannon Sharp whenever I see a white girl that's bad. I mean, man, she's bad, but shit, Jonathan Majors. Shannon Sharp. I'm good.
Settlement with that young woman that you did, that means, wow, she's got you by the balls. If it's anywhere close to the amount of money, they're saying 20 million. I don't, if it's 5 million, she's got you by the balls. And your demons have put you in a spot where people are like, hey man, just go away for a year or two. Don't get in any kind of trouble, and we'll consider having you back on, because you are that talented, and he is that talented, but his demons run deep, and it'll be interesting if he can clear that up, or if he's learned a lesson. Previous behavior is a pretty good indicator of future behavior. But I want to move on to Ryan Clark, just because he jumped into this.
Okay.
And his justification, I believe, is, I think, and I had to ask my team, like, did me and Cam talk about Ryan Clark? And we did briefly in that interview. Cam brought it up, and I said something, but not much. But that Ryan Clark is now justifying him jumping into this and saying Cam's disloyal is because he was brought up in the conversation between Cam and myself. This whole loyalty thing is a lark and a farce to me. Stephen A., was he loyal to Molly Karam? I bet you Molly Karam would say no. Was he loyal to Max Kellerman? I would most likely think he'd say no. I think if Shannon Sharp were honest, like when Shannon got in trouble, Stephen A. wasn't loyal. Stephen A. wasn't dropping in no foxhole. He was making sure he was at a safe distance so none of it got on him. I don't even think he's loyal to Skip Bates. So it's not a loyalty issue. Ryan Clark can't stand me and felt like Cam having me on his show, man, that legitimizes Whitlock making fun of me for crying on TV. And, what are you doing? But, I'm not a fan of Ryan Clark at all. I don't. Of all the people we've talked about, by a landslide, the least amount of talent, by a landslide. Stephen A., Shannon, Cam, these guys light years ahead of Ryan Clark in terms of talent, broadcasting talent. And I know you and Ryan have had your problems. Anyway, I don't even know if I have a great question. Just Ryan Clark, your thoughts on his role in this, or sneaking into this conversation?
Well, I mean, look, Ryan and I have had issues, and this goes back to Fox. Ryan has taken shots at me. He took shots at me back then. This is, 7-8 years ago, and it just continued from that point on to the point where I finally start really responding and looking for understanding of, like, dog, why are you like this? Like, it's crazy. Like, Ryan in his mindset is so young. It's so it's so 8th grade. It's so like, I already know this in totality, and why am I still engaging with this? But it's because it does have influence. It's because people do actually rock with that mindset. And when I saw him insert himself into this one for Stephen A. Smith, like you said, oh man, you're gonna have his enemy on your show. Oh, loyalty's at a minimum. First of all, Stephen A. Smith gave Jason Whitlock 35 minutes in retort, and I think that's enough. We don't need your tweet on top of that to say, pom-poms, yeah, Stephen A., you see I got your back, big dog, right? And this is, for what? One, as a man, for what? Like, Stephen A. got this. Whether he wins or loses, he got this. But, it just took me back to Kwame Brown. When Kwame Brown first hit with the go along, get along gang. And I remember sitting there on air saying, yo, that's the first time I was able to term and crystallize what's going on here. Because there's so many alliances. And Stephen A. Smith is the most obvious one, right? Him and Michael Jordan text, or him and Michael Jordan are cool. And then him and LeBron, I don't like him. So then guess what? Your analysis of LeBron is pretty hard to be objective. And I wonder how long that's been. I wonder how long you've been not just hating on LeBron, but not giving LeBron all his flowers when they're due. And that's just one example. So when it comes to Ryan Clark, dog, I just saw him this weekend. This is what's crazy about Ryan Clark. Every time I see him, I speak to him. I say, hello, Ryan. And he looks at me like this. Like, I'm like, dog, what grade are we in, dog? Like, first of all, he's with Fred Taylor, who's my former teammate, who was like, what's up, Sel? What's up? What? And then he's with Shannon Crowder, who I love too. And I was like, oh, what's up, big dog? And we talk. And then he's like this. And I say, hi, Ryan. And he does this. And I was like, dog, Ryan, what do you want out of it? You know how much energy, you know how much oxygen you losing right now trying to be mad at me? Well, dog, just enjoy it. I'm hosting an event that you participating in. I got the mic. Don't let me go there. And I didn't, because, I take the high road. But the point is, he is a full-blown mess. Seriously, like he's a problem. And I told him back then when he first started coming at me, because he is truly a group thinker. He's truly led by the pack. I'm like,
now it's finna go to Ryan. And here's the situation, though, how he's talking about he's a group thinker. But you got to understand, though, this is the same guy who's kind of attached to your guy, Gilbert Arenas, who's another group thinker. So if you call out, it's the pot calling the kettle black. If your friends around you are doing the same thing that you're complaining about, the other guy, he's friends with that guy. So it's all about who we like. It's all about who we like. So if we're going by that metrics, then we're looking at this from a whole different angle. Yeah. If you got one friend that's just like another person you're complaining about, you're in the same boat. It's all about who you like. It's like, this guy comes after me, so I don't like him. Just say it that way. Because both of y'all are now cool with Gilbert Arenas, who do the same damn thing. He's a group thinker. Dude, they had an original idea in his life. If he had an original idea, it'd be something real stupid. Oh, we should have a TV show where we jump off the roof into the pool with like some floaty devices. But what if they miss and hit the rocks? Oh, yeah. Well, we can edit that part out. It's an insurance risk. You see, you cannot have somebody like that around you. Now, Ryan Clark isn't going to go through that whole thing, but let's dig into this because we now understand that Lion Clark, that's what I call him, Lion Clark. This is what he does. He goes down this thing of trying to remember a script. Jason Williams is actually smart. He's actually a very smart individual. And it seems like Ryan Clark wants to be that so much that he's going to follow this script and he's trying to remember it word by word, how he wants it to come off. And that you can't get a real response from him that's genuine. Because the advice he's giving you, he's going to go right around. He'll tell you, see, we got to be centered. We got to be focused. And marriage and finding the right woman, that is the key. We have to find that value of family and principle and with kids and building that foundation. That is the key. Then later that night, you see him at Tricky's throwing singles. Yeah, baby, come on. Woo! Like, who is this? That Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark, what are you doing? You was just giving me advice. And he just walks on. That's Ryan Clark.
Like, he let Stephen A lead him into this, and he ain't got nothing to do with this. This was a Cam Newton, Jason Whitlock beef, part one. Part two, it was a Jason Whitlock and Stephen A Smith beef. Where's Ryan Clark? Where's Ryan Clark in this? He has no business being in this except the business of following the pack and trying to get a reaction.
He would argue Cam asked me about Ryan Clark, or I said something about Ryan Clark.
What'd you say?
That I don't, just like, hey, I think he's a racial idolater and, not a good broadcaster. Something quick. Look, me and Cam talked for 1:20. An hour and 10 of it was about me and Cam. Probably 7 minutes was about Stephen A. Smith. And maybe I had 1 minute on Ryan Clark. But it was his excuse to get involved because he can't. He don't like you. He don't like me. I halfway don't blame him for not liking me. And I say that in all sincerity, Ryan, if this gets back to you. Because, I embarrassed him on something that, like, his son would be a witness to. Because he told that story on ESPN where he breaks down crying because my son and his friends were at a McDonald's and a woman drove by the drive-thru and she called him the N-word, and he starts breaking down. And I'm sitting there because, again, I got a whole different mentality on this whole deal. It's like, some white woman, I don't know, drove by and called me the N-word. I'm from, like, we used to, I can remember being in college. I've told this story many times. Tim Walton, linebacker, our best defensive player, he's from Detroit. He's from the hood. Only reason why we got him is because he got shot as a high school senior. And so the Big Ten schools backed away from him, and we got him the next year. But anyway, we're in Muncie, Indiana, driving from some party, and some white boys drove by us in a truck and called us the N-word. And so we hopped out of the car wanting to fight. That's what we did at that age. Oh, you called it, let's fight. Let's jump out of the car. Next thing we didn't jump out of the car wanting to fight. Tim jumped out of the car and popped the trunk of his car and was standing next to me with a Uzi. I had no idea. Like, this got serious real quick. I run home. I'm just like,
right.
But I
now this is funny as hell. Whitlock jumping out of the car with somebody. Let's jump out the car and get him. And then Whitlock running. This dude ain't probably ran since he was 5. Whitlock running? Are you kidding me? Oh my God, this is hilarious. Whitlock ain't ran in his life. And I'm like, hold up. So he runs a 30 in the 40 yards. It'll take him 30 seconds to take the first step. He's like, he actually got a scholarship to play. He went to Ball State. He went to Ball State. Oh, yeah, I got the 76ers winning tonight over Charlotte. That's what I'm saying. They moving up to that 6th spot. The Knicks will be in trouble, man. If they running this Philly first round, I want that matchup. Knicks going home. Pete. I mean, he was on the line. A lot of dudes, he was just big. His family said, hey, get your ass on this line.
I say all that to say, like, hey, man, ain't nobody breaking down crying because somebody in the drive-thru that they don't know will never see again. That ain't hurt no real feelings. Why are you on TV crying about it? Blah, blah, blah. But me doing that and doing the crocodile tears, I could imagine his son or his son's friends may have seen the video, and that would, like, I've embarrassed Ryan in front of his son in his mind, and he hates me for it. Ryan doesn't know that he caused the embarrassment. Not going to take responsibility for that. Everybody else loved it. All the white liberals on ESPN were like, oh, Ryan, we feel so sorry. Your son, some woman he doesn't know and will never see him again, called him a word. Oh, Ryan, that must be so traumatic. But I get why Ryan Clark doesn't like me. I really do. Why he doesn't like you, I don't get.
I get it. Because he told me. I mean, he told the world. He didn't tell me. He should have told me first, and I could have clarified for him. Okay, this goes back. Let me tell you, when Ryan Clark first started working at ESPN, and I think he was still an active player. And it's funny, that's how I started. I started at the NFL Network in like 03, 04, even before it was really open, as an active player. So I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Why are you up here? I'm at ESPN and you still playing, and you're up here getting some work in. Smart. Get ahead of this. All right. And I used to call him Stringer Bell. And we used to connect and kick it. I was like, you remind me of Stringer Bell because he, all clean, looking good, handsome dude, respect. And I used to chop it up with him every time I saw him up there. Didn't see him forever. And then next thing I know, I'm getting tweets about how I'm a sellout, or how I'm a coon, how I'm this, or how I'm over there caping up for the white man and stuff. I'm like, me? I'm looking like me? Dog, one thing I'm not is caping up for anybody. White, black, I don't cape up for anybody. If it ain't real, if it ain't true, if it ain't what it is, it's not coming from me. So I'm like, this dude really? And then I saw where it was all connected. It was him and a bunch of other people in the industry, and when the divide was happening, and people were like, "Oh, if you ain't just saying blindly it's all good because it's all black, then you on the other side. You are up." And he chose that group think, and I was like, "Dog, okay, I'm gonna retaliate. I'm gonna come back at you." And we just had our little war of words. But then what hurt me is because I had such fondness of him in the beginning. I was cool with him. I still think he's a tremendous talent. I still put this to the side, Whitlock. That dude can break down some film. That dude is a good analyst. I ain't gonna lie to you. He kills it. But I put all that to the side. But this is what I can't get over. This is what triggers me. He's a race baiter. But worse than a race baiter is the type that we all grew up with that turned into that guy. Usually that guy got an identity issue. He might be mixed. He might be a little light-skinned. He may have been questioned his whole life. You know how it goes. But Ryan Clark wants to be a race baiter when he got a white baby mama, a black and white kid, and then want to look at everything through an all-black lens. You literally are telling your own child half of her ain't it. And that's when I was like, dog, this is just damaging to the people. Whether it's my people, your people, all people, human race, culture, this is just stupid. I hate when people got it. My wife is biracial. She's Nigerian and Dutch. And when I met her and she was like, I'm black, I was like, and? She was like, what? I was like, and? Come on, you Nigerian and Dutch. You ain't even like African-American. Your ass is African. Like, you know what I mean? Give us some love. I'm just saying, call it like it is. Balls are balls, strikes are strikes. Miss me. You ain't playing this Tiger Woods role when you go on Oprah and tell everybody what you are, and because of their reaction, now you're not that anymore. Tiger Woods ain't said that long-ass sentence ever since. He was like, nope. And I'm not the one. I am me. I'm going to live these 70, 80, 90 years, whatever the hell I got, and that's it. So when Ryan did that, I said, oh, you forever going to have my attention, brother, because you ain't going to be damaging these kids and making them grow up where they got identity issues. You ain't came to terms with your white baby mama. Don't mean you got to go out here and look at everything through the black lens. Look at it through the reality lens. And that's why we always going to be on different sides?
And that is what you need to know about Ryan Clark. That right there is all you need to know about Ryan Clark. Nothing else needs to follow. I told you I was disappointed. Me and KB talked yesterday after he did his video, and we were talking about Ryan Clark, and he was like, man, I got to review your video you did. I said, that's the part that was so disappointing. It was like we were let down because I was like, man, I was suggesting this was the safe place. Ryan Clark seemed like he was on the level. So if you was going to tell your side of the story or do your interview with somebody, that would be the case. Now, Marcellus Wiley does play a political game himself. He does. He goes down the line of trying to predicate himself on being the good guy. Like, I gotta be the good guy. I gotta be looked at as the good guy. I have to be celebrated. I have to be championed. If they're not, then I don't know what's going on. Well, you can have a white girlfriend, and here's the thing: you can have a white girlfriend, but know that white people are racist. Racism don't just exist; they don't change because you got a white girlfriend, and that's sometimes some people in mixed relationships they be like, "This racism thing is just we just got to get over it. Just grab a white girl," like it's like kind of crazy how they logic think sometimes. It's like, okay, you're in a relationship with somebody you love. She happens to be white. Okay, that's fine. That's on you. I'm uncles, aunties, white. It don't matter. That's who they chose. That's who they chose. That's it. But racism is going to exist anyway. It's not going to change. There are going to be people who don't like you for whatever reason it is. I just don't care. As long as you're not in my way, I have no problems. I'm not here to change your minds. I'm not over here to change your ideals. Because it's like talking to a conservative, right? Or somebody that likes Trump and they like MAGA. What sense is talking to them? They're not going to leave MAGA. Trump can go off with a Uzi and just start blasting people in the street wearing a diaper. You're no good traitors. Well, he was under a lot of stress, and those people were probably sent by Iran and as American spies. They will think of and create a reason. He could do it all on 4K. It wouldn't matter. Because it's all about who they like. So they're going to make excuses for who they like. They're going to make allowances for them. And they're going to say, hey, that person was under stress. This person was doing that. Don't worry about that. That guy's doing this. That's how they're going to move and operate. They have no care in this world about you, what's going on with you, or how you will feel about anything. It's all about them, always. Like the majority of the people right now don't even watch SportsCenter. They don't even watch First Take. First Take is getting a lot of these views because First Take is on the television in airports, bars, everywhere they travel, they're playing ESPN. So it's just on. So they have all these outlets. And then for the people that just happen to turn on ESPN in the morning, it's on. They're not tuning in because they want to see Stephen A. That's the illusion. They're planted there. Ryan Clark wants to be on this level. He wants to be on this plateau. So when I heard the shiesty moves and what he did to start the Pivot podcast, and when he was with I Am Athlete being called and helped out with Brandon Marshall, now I got to look at it with a different lens based on what he did with Kwame Brown and myself. If I wasn't up there, like somebody's like, you always inserting yourself in Kwame's beat. I'm in the damn video. Ryan Clark is speaking to me and Kwame Brown. Kwame asked me to come up there on the platform when he was talking with Ryan Clark. I didn't volunteer that. Once that happened, I'm sitting there and I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, here we are. You know, we're watching this situation, we're looking at it, and we're trying to figure out, like, what is our place here? No, Marcellus Wiley seems to always have a conservative view. I've never seen him go the opposite way. I've always seen him bend towards a conservative narrative that fits the people that he lives around. Well, it fits a lot with what it fits a lot with the narratives of what is supposed to be the end all be all of what's to come next. There are a lot of conservative people who are not bad. It's just that conservative people, a lot of them are aligned into group thinking. But there are conservative people who know how to think outside of the box and be their own person. But if the conservative group saying we're doing this, guess what? Marcellus Wiley is going to be line and step with them because he's part of that party, that group. And when they do something, he finds an out, or he act like it doesn't happen. He put the blinders on and he focuses on something else that is democratic or something that just doesn't fit the agenda. And where Marcellus Wiley is better at than anyone else is that he likes to put the focus back on what people would want it to be like or see or even witness. Stephen A. interviewed Anton Daniels for what? If Stephen A. Smith did that to him, it doesn't even make sense. But it all makes sense now. Yes, they all lean to the right side. That's why they almost lock in step with one another. They have a good rapport. Marcellus Wiley is cool with Gil, and he cool with Kwame. Like nobody gets mad if somebody is friends of somebody else. Like I don't care. It's a lot of people that might be like, man, I'm cool with Gil. That's them. It's not gonna change the way I feel about the dude. You know what I'm saying? I got people that talk to people I'm not cool with. That's why I'm like, dude, if I'm not cool with them and you talk to them, I'm not gonna say, well, how you gonna be cool with somebody that ain't cool with me? I'll be like, I'm not. No, I don't have that energy. Y'all might have a different friendship. Like it's some people like they were friends, and I was friends through extension. You know what I'm saying? So it's a whole different thing. I'm like, everybody's an individual. You free to do what you want to do. You don't owe me that. If you want to be cool with them, I could see if it was something serious. Like if it was something like he done murdered like 5 people in my family and then you cool with him, that would be a different situation. I'd be like, okay, well, you can be cool with him. I'm just cool on you because anybody associated with that guy, what he did is different. But something as innocuous as that. Is immigration. Immigration is a thing that, and here's the key. You're all being lied to about immigration. It's true. You're being lied to. The immigration that was coming through when they were allowing the people to come over is because they were losing the votes. Then they weren't gonna just be red. So they were gonna open up the borders, bring people in here who in 3 years will be registered to vote and have all of this vitriol. Which personality was Anton? I have no idea which one he was on it. It's all but crazy to even assume something like that. Okay, let me tell you this. They're taking health care away from poor black communities. This is incorrect. Here's the thing. The majority of immigrants that come over in this country don't even get benefits. Most of them don't even have jobs that get insurance. Over 70%. They're not taking anything from you. Most of the immigrants that come in this country end up getting cash jobs. Yep. They work for less money than the minimum wage, which is illegal. So they're paid because they're illegal. People use them, these rich billionaires know they're illegal, and they still let them work in their facilities. Most of these companies are owned by Jewish people, just happen to be. And they don't mind that they're illegal. When the social security number comes back fake or gets flagged, they tell the person, hey, we're going to let you go. You got about 3-4 more days that you can work like this. We'll give you 2 weeks or you're going to be permanently out. You got to come in with a new number or whatever, and work it out. They want to keep you, but the social security is not working for us. And they let the same employee come back with a new social security number. They know this person is illegal. They let them come in with a new name, new social, and now instead of calling them this name, we got to call them another name. They'll tell us we were at the job. I've seen it happen firsthand. And this was happening at a lot of these corporations. It's part of a thing that they were doing with illegals, paying them low wages to work at companies, because in their country where they come from, they're getting paid $1 an hour, $1.75 an hour, $2 an hour. Now they come to America and they could get $6, $7 an hour. Wow. They send money back home. So they be like, here's some money. We're making a fortune here in America. We're making $6, $7 an hour. So most of them end up getting farm jobs where they pick strawberries out of the field. They helping with clean up the horse doo-doo because the person that owns the farm is old. They can't afford to pay somebody minimum wage. Normally the family would run it, but they got their lives. They want to go and do whatever. So they hire these illegals to come over and they work in these farming areas, mostly in Florida and all these things. They used to this. Farming over in Mexico or whatever. And that's what they do. So they need these illegals to come over to do the jobs that we as Americans ain't going to do. So when they say they're taking jobs from the American people, that's just the political bullshit they're feeding you. They're not taking healthcare away. Trump's eliminating healthcare. He's literally cut cancer research. He's literally closed hospitals. Talking about, oh, they stopping abortion. No, they don't just do abortions. They have medical clinics for pregnant women. All of these things were cut. All these hospitals and centers, clinics, completely shut down. This is the system they created because the high 1%, don't want to pay taxes. This is why the country's in debt, because they don't want to do what they put in paper and writing to do. They don't want outsourced all their manufacturing to be in other countries because they didn't want to pay what it costs to manufacture here in the United States of America. So if the United States of America's companies don't want to manufacture here, including Donald Trump, who had his shirts and his clothing line made in China, what are we talking about? So on that note, it's your boy Carcino. We're out. Thank you for listening to me. Don't forget, thanks Jess and Whitlock. Go follow his show to finish watching that incredible back and forth between him and Marcellus Wiley. Go watch Kwame Brown Bust Life to go watch the whole show between him and Jason Whitlock and what they had to say. Hopefully you watched the video, what I said about Ryan Clark. I found that to be very informative, and I'm out.